and kindness, and this kind of way of, instead of anger and greed and things like that. And then we call it wisdom. We call it, and that's the important part. That is to really see things very clearly, how the things are. So this is the training actually.
I read recently that we should follow a teacher when we're, say, on this path. Should we follow a teacher?
Well, it's like this, like the idea is that everybody wants to be, free from suffering. Everybody wants to be happier. Everybody wants to be better. Yeah, and everybody tries. It's not because we don't try. Then why we don't get there is because we don't know how to do it. Yeah. So it's very important to learn how to, how to become better and how. So if we find something or somebody who has some understanding or some knowledge or some information, then we should learn. Yeah. So it's not that you have to have a teacher. You need a teacher to learn. Yeah, like everything else. In a university you need a teacher. Otherwise, there will be no university. Even for driving a car, you need a teacher. Even playing music, you need a teacher. Swimming, you need a teacher. And now this is also a little bit complicated because the teacher cannot. Many things teacher cannot totally kind of put it into you. Teacher can tell you a little bit from his experience or her experience how to do, and give a hint. And then you have to practice and practice and practice, and then like driving a car, you cannot learn how to drive a car without a teacher who knows how to drive a car. But the teacher cannot just put it into you. Unless you practice and you practice, you will never learn. So it's like that. So, like meditation also, you need a teacher who knows how to meditate a little bit. But just having a teacher doesn't work. You have to learn it yourself, and you have to practice yourself. And actually, you have to learn yourself. The teacher is just, helping you to learn.
And I know you mentioned there about wisdom. Does meditation bring us from like the ordinary mind to the mind that's more wise?
First, we need understanding. There we usually, traditionally, we talk about three things. We say listening, reflection, and meditation. Listening is actually study. To try to study people who have understanding, or who are supposed to have good understanding or great wisdom, or people who are supposed to know. So we call it listening because it's not like like immediately you read somebody and then you start to criticize it, as if you knew everything what he or she was going to say. First you have to listen carefully what that person's idea was, what really is this person is trying to communicate. So without our own too much judgment and too much input, because we have a difficulty to listen. It's very, I sometimes say like this, that we have a little bit like a box in our head, And then if somebody says something, or if you read something, if it fits in that box, then we are very happy. Oh yes, I like it because he says exactly what I think. And then if it doesn't fit, then either I have to cut the edges, or I have to fold it and put it in. What he actually means is like this, like this, like this, and then I interpret it and then put it like this. Then say, I understand. So it's all my interpretation. Or I say, I don't understand. It's rubbish. So if I do like this, then we never improve on what we just confirm our own ideas and things like that. We don't learn anything more. So therefore, that listening has to be not that just a rigid box, but very elastic. That we try to really listen carefully and try to understand what they are saying. Whether we believe it or not doesn't matter. Whether I agree or not doesn't matter. Really clearly, totally, understand. That's the first to bring, to develop our wisdom. Then second is now, if you just listen and then accept it, that wouldn't also increase our wisdom. Because then we just have accepted certain ideas which we don't really know, So even if we believed 100%, it wouldn't really, it's not same as understanding. We just believe, but we don't really understand. So then, therefore, we need to reflect on it. Now, reflection means investigating. Now, what we have learned, or we have listened, now second point is then we ask questions. We investigate, we reflect, we look at it from every angle. We ask all kind of questions, and we really, investigate into it and say this is right, this is wrong. So all we can use logics, we can use experience, we can use all different kind of things. That's the second part. That will make us then, understand much more clearly. Because then if we have really investigated, we can debate. So that's why in Buddhism, debating is, especially in Tibetan Buddhism, debating is actually a system of education. So we debate so that, one day I take, this time I take the point of view of that particular teacher maybe, and next time I take the opposite to that, and then we debate. So it's all trying to, look from every angle. So this way, then I get certain kind of, clarity. If it is like this, is it really like this or not like this? So if I understand something, it's very clear. Now it becomes much more clear. So that's the second part, to bring the wisdom. But then now this, even if I have a very clear understanding of something, it must be like this because there's no other way I can think can be correct. Then even if I see it very clearly, understanding, it's still a concept. And it's an intellectual idea. So, but in this case, from the Buddhist point of view, it needs to be not just an intellectual understanding, not just a concept, but really experience. So that's where the meditation comes in. So that understanding, then I not only kind of have as an understanding, but make it my way of being. So that understanding, I kind of use it again and again, and so it becomes, my heart experience. Like that's why we say that the longest journey is from your head to your heart. Not just an experience, but not just an understanding, but as an experience. So if that, I understand it must be like this because from whatever, way I look, there's no other way, but this should be like this. Then if that becomes my way of feeling, my gut feeling, my understanding from the heart, then I react in that way. Then my emotions can also change accordingly. So then that's when we call the wisdom, because it's not just intellectual understanding, but my whole being, my personality has kind of a little bit transformed, and the way I react also has changed. So this is what we call wisdom.
Do you think dancing is a form of meditation or therapy?
Well, this can, you can do anything, all different kind of methods, and from Buddhist point of view, Buddha said that, there are different people, and the people are different, so therefore there can't be just one way. There can't be just one method. There can't be just one only path. So whatever way, whatever instructions, whatever methods, whatever medium through which you can help people, that's the best way for that person, for that group of people, or things like that. So therefore, from Buddhist point of view, there can be many right ways. There's no one right way, because it's all depending on people. If I need dancing, or the dancing helps me better, then dancing is a good way. If sitting is better for me, then sitting is good. And walking is better for me than walking, whatever, singing, whatever.
Tibetans have a traditional form of medicine called Tibetan medicine, which is based on the 5 elements. But can you tell me a little about your own experience of using Tibetan medicine, Rinpoche?
Tibetan medicine is actually, basically it's coming from India. It's Ayurvedic, based on that. But then it's also very much based on the Tibetans kind of, because Tibet, the Himalaya, actually most of the even Ayurvedic, medicinal herbs are growing in the Himalayas. So Tibet has lots of that, and it has since long, has lots of traditions of they knew the herbs and things like that. So the pre-Buddhistic Tibetan understanding of medicine, plus the Indian medical teachings, plus Unani. There is also influence of Unani medicine in Tibet. And later on, a little bit of Chinese also maybe. So all this together, forms the Tibetan medicine. And they have a very good diagnostic method, through the pulse reading. It's really very, very, I am very impressed by that. Because many times, once I went back to India, and I think we had 5 or 6 people with me, Westerners, who went to India. And then all of them had certain health problems. And then when we arrived in Delhi, they all wanted to go and see a Tibetan doctor. So we went to see a Tibetan doctor there. And then I was talking to him like this, and then each of them came one by one, and then he was just, taking the pulse, and then without them telling him anything about their problems, he was telling them what problem they had. And I knew what problems they had, So he was telling them as if they have, exactly that they had told me, So it's a very, very good, special, really, this pulse rating, which is actually seems to have lost in India, because even in Ayurvedic they don't have that kind of pulsing now. So that's a very special thing. Then the medicine, I found that there are some very, the Tibetan medicine good for many things, many things. But I found that they're not as good. The effect of the medicine is not as good as the diagnostic. I don't know why. Maybe they can't get all the ingredients the right way, or a little bit problem because they don't have too much money and they don't have too much facilities. I don't know why, but I a little bit find that it's not as effective as it's they understand the problem. But actually it's very good. In many cases it's good. Usually take Tibetan medicine, most of the time. And I also carry some Tibetan medicines when I travel, and most of the time I don't have to see doctors.
That's great. And how does, say, Tibetan medicine compare with, traditional forms of medicine?
Tibetan medicine basically herbs, you can say. It's not that only herbs. They use minerals and they use other things also. But it's very, what can you say? It's very simple. I think not simple. They use all sort of things actually. It's very traditional before, it's not machine thing, there's no machines. So it's all, directly coming from the nature, most of them things. Yeah. So, but then it's kind of many different, it has very little side effects, because they know how to get rid of the side effects, because if one plant is good for something, they not only use that plant, they use maybe many others, sometimes 7, 8 others, or sometimes even 20, 30 other together with it, so that it's kind of the side effects of that is not happening. So therefore, it's very safe. I think it's very safe. It's not that, of course, sometimes if you take totally different, diagnosis, then maybe it's not good. But it doesn't have side effects much.
And does it work similar to Ayurveda? Because I know with Ayurveda, it works on the root cause.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Looks at the root cause and then works there. But sometimes it affects very quickly. I mean, it's almost instantly. Once I have one medicine which is called Tita Jepa, we call it Tita Et. And this is a very good medicine which is, very good for digestion, and if a little problems of overeating or or something wrong, then but it also has certain elements there that it's good for what can you say? If you get, I don't get the word now. If you get, if you have allergy of certain kind,
Oh yeah.
and things like that. So once, I was in a very remote place in the Pyrenees, and my driver was a lady, and so she, in the middle of the night, she was knocking my door, and then I opened, and then she had her face swollen, completely. And she said, now I'm like this, and I have an allergy, and if I don't get proper treatment in a few hours I might die, and we are very far away from from the doctors or hospitals, and I cannot drive. So I didn't know what to do. So I gave one of these medicine to her, and I could actually see, her this swollen thing going back to normal, almost see, and in about half an hour the whole swollen gone, and she could go back to sleep. And then she took that medicine a few times, and she was completely okay. So some of them are very good.
Do you think there is a connection between the mind and the body, Rinpoche?
Of course. There's mind and body are, completely interconnected. From Buddhist point of view, actually everything is interconnected and interdependent, independently arising. But of course, mind and body are very, very connected. So, if something happens to your body, it affects our mind. And if our mind can totally affect our body. So therefore, this is also one thing, like meditation, or, when you work on our peace of mind, or, on a positive way of seeing and, managing our emotions, that would also help our body, and we can sometimes heal our body, maintain good health and, happiness and youthfulness and power and things like that.
I think in yoga they say that all disease starts in the mind.
Yes, and also therefore, if you don't, if you misuse your body, then it also affects your mind.
For people looking into the past, they might find it hard to make peace with the past, especially say if they feel angry and regretful about it. Would you have any suggestions for people how they could make peace with the past?
Well, I think the first thing we try to understand is that that past is past. And past, there are lots of things happened in the past, and good things happened, bad things happened, and sometimes lots of good things happened also in the past, but we don't remember them, and maybe some bad things happened, and we kind of hold on to them. That is also one problem. It's not just about the past, but how we hold on, what kind of past we focus on. That is also a big issue. Yeah. So we need to understand that this is how it is. The past is lots of things, not just one or two bad things. Lots of good things, some bad things happened also. But whatever happened, of course, it has its effect, but it's gone, and you cannot bring it back except in memory. And so, therefore, it is there is no other way but let it be. Yeah. Now the past has its effect, but how much effect and how it affects is not about what happened, but how you look at it. Yeah. If something very bad happened, or a very hard time you had in the past, you can say that, I am the person, I am the one who had this hard time, I am like this, I am like that, I have been all this, nobody had these problems, I am the one, I am the victim, then, you hold on to that, and you kind of try to, you keep that, you don't let go of that experience, But if you say, I had very difficult time, but thank God it's not there now, it's gone, it's the past, then you are actually happier because of the past. It was a very bad time, it was a very hard time, but now it's not there. So it can actually make you more happier or more stronger or more. So it depends on how you look at how you look at that past. If you identify with that, then it becomes, I am that one which had that experience. But if you look at it as something happened and gone, and you let it go, lots of things happen to you. Yeah, it's not only that. So then, you can let go of the past and, have even come out more stronger from that experience. So there are lots of different pressures on you, Also the society. Society can actually, I think, give lots of, what can you say, wrong information, like, oh, you are like that, oh, you are the one who is the victim. So then, oh, I am the one who is the victim. Because most of the things what I feel I am, it's not coming from my, understanding. It's been told. We have been fed with this all information. What I am, So people say you are like this. Oh, I am like this. You are like that, and I am like that. And then I actually, I say, I think I am Ringu Tulku and I am Tibetan and I am like that. But I don't know if I am Ringu Tulku. I don't know if I am Tibetan. People told me you are Tibetan, so I say I am Tibetan. Yeah, isn't it? So many other things like that. So we kind of hold on to what has been fed in, and then we think it's really our feeling or experience. So this, I think, there's lots of things like that. So this is also part of the wisdom and part of understanding, and sometimes it's very difficult to let it go because we are so strongly habituated with that. If I become like this is like this, I am like this, I cannot do anything, I cannot let go, I cannot be happy, I am not lovable, So if you keep that as, then it's very difficult to change, because you have already identified. So this, if you understand that it's not like that, I'm just like anybody else. So, some people can love me, some people don't love me. I can do something, if I try, it might happen. Some things don't. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst, We are all like that. So if I, start to see things in a slightly different way, and then, we need lots of training there, I think, lots of, because changing our habits is very difficult.
I know you touched on about letting go, but how come a lot of people have inability to let go of certain situations?
So this is also, I think, understanding. Understanding is very important, but then that's where the practice comes in. Practice comes in, because practice means like you kind of do it again and again, because like for instance, I have if I have a bad habit, and then first I need to recognize that this is my bad habit. If I say that if I have a short temper, for instance, I get angry for nothing, and then I need to know that yes, I get angry for very small things, and then I need to know that it's not necessary to get angry, because if I get angry, it's not good for me, it's not good for anybody, and it actually gives me lots of pain, and it doesn't actually solve any problem, but makes more problem. So therefore, but it was my habit, so immediately somebody says something or does something, So every time I get angry, I have to remind myself, oh yes, it's not a good thing. I don't need to do that. I have to, So I kind of, even if I have maybe already said something or done something with that, but then I say no. So I start to little bit, easier to, first maybe I don't control it, but I don't keep it long. Then slowly, maybe even when before I am about to do something or say something, I recognize and then I don't do it or I don't say it. Then slowly, I don't even need to have this, way of emotion or expression. So, that's what we call training. Yeah.
A lot of people have been hurt in the past as well. But how would you suggest, say, for them to be able to come into a place of forgiveness for that person or even compassion as well?
The understanding is that hurt is basically, I let myself hurt. We think that, like if my enemy does something, I am less hurt. But if my friend does something bad, I get very hurt, no? Why? When my enemy does something bad, I think, yeah, that's his job. He's my enemy, so he's doing his job. So I don't get so hurt. I feel maybe angry and upset. But if my friend does something, then I get very hurt because I don't expect that. So this already is, how I hurt is not what happens, but how I react. Yeah. So therefore, everybody, has their own problems. Everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has lots of negative emotions. Everybody has their own problems, yeah, and their emotions. Sometimes they have to express those emotions. So therefore, if somebody is angry at me or upset with me or something like that, if I see that, oh, this person is having a problem today, he's having not a good time, so he's having a problem. So if I can see like that, I don't need to get hurt because I know that the problem is he has a problem, and when he has a problem, he's under the influence of that emotion. So therefore, it's like somebody drunk or somebody drugged or somebody having going through a very difficult time. If I see it like that, then what the action of that person, not necessarily I have to take it so personally. And even I can feel empathy for this person. Oh yeah, today now he's not in very good situation. Because otherwise you wouldn't get angry and upset. So therefore it's a lot to do with that. And then also how much hurt I feel is up to me. If I say that, there is no guarantee that people have to do all good things and nice things. Even my beloved ones, they can also, because under the influence of very negative emotions and, certain too much of their own something, selfishness or self-centeredness, they can do lots of bad things. So if I understand deeply, it's not necessary that I need to get so much hurt from that. Anyway, if I hurt, it's not good for me. It is not good for anybody else. It doesn't do any good. So I sometimes say this, and for me, I think it works. I say I refuse to get hurt. I refuse to get hurt because there's really no reason to get so much hurt. because, if people do something not so good, it's up to them. It's up to them. How much I hurt, it's up to me. Yeah. So if I don't get too much hurt, it's much better for me. Yeah. So there is nothing like, somebody does something and I have to get that much of hurt or how much hurt. There's no exact kind of thing. I can be very hurt, I can be a little hurt, I can be not hurt. Yeah. And if I'm not hurt, it's much better for me. And better for the person also. Sometimes actually they don't really mean to hurt me, but they do something or say something or just because they are in a certain situation and they want to do something or they like something or they don't want something, and then that makes me very hurt. But actually there's no reason. So I cannot change everybody's like and don't like. It's not that everybody has to do exactly what I want. Yeah, it can't be. It's not possible. Everybody has their wishes and their wants and their don't wants. So therefore, if somebody does something what they want, it's not necessary that I have to get hurt. Yeah. So if I really understand and see this a little bit more deeply, I think it helps me not to get so much hurt. And then the forgiveness is really basically, what they do is up to them, So I don't need to be, totally, what can you say, affected by that. Yes, whatever happened, it's okay. Then I forgive. I don't need to take revenge. I don't need to, make something, I just let it go. That's forgiving. I don't say that's very good. Sometimes it can be not good, but so what? What can I do? So I think forgiveness is very important in that sense that you decide not to keep it. Yeah, because if you keep it, something happened and then you keep it in a very bad way and a very negative way, then you can keep it for a long time, and you can make it even bigger, like in your imagination. Even small thing you can think about it, and then sometimes, your whole experience becomes that, because if your mind is only thinking about something, that's your whole life.
In regard to, say, happiness, what do you think stops us from actually experiencing happiness in our lives?
I think it's like this, happiness is, as I said before, it's not like too much excitedness, because if you're too much excited, then there's always a fall, Then you have the more happiness, more unhappiness. Yeah. But sometimes we call it peace of mind. Peace of mind is that you kind of, how things are. You accept that, and you allow yourself to be okay in whatever situation. Yeah. This. There's a folktale story. There's three bears, and it takes the first one takes the soup and says it's too hot, and the last one takes it, it's too cold, and then the third one takes it and says it's just right for me.
Exactly.
A little bit like that, If you say, if you kind of take things whatever as it is, and it's okay, then you are happy. You are not you're not expecting too much. You are not have too much aversion, too much fear, too much aversion, too much kind of this has to be exactly, too much clinging, attachment. Then you kind of you learn to be okay in any situation. And when you are like that, then you can be okay, yeah. Because then you have peace of mind. Your mind is not disturbed. So when your mind is not disturbed, naturally you have joy also. When your mind finds the peace, you have also joy. Like even we go to a nice nature or forest or a mountain or near the sea or lake or things like that. It's very natural. Then our mind becomes a little calm and natural, and then we feel joy. So this is from Buddhist point of view. We think that this kind of the joy, you can call it happiness if you like, the joy, the creativity, the kindness, you can call it compassion, are the natural qualities of our mind. But we are so disturbed usually, and so busy. We don't give chance to express that. We are too busy and too much involved and too much. So therefore, when we become more peaceful, then naturally we become more joyful. We become more kind, and when we are joyful and kind, then also mind becomes very creative, and that's actually the natural state of our mind. And also clear. The more calm you are, the more clear your mind becomes. So therefore, that's also when we try to meditate, is trying to cultivate that also, the true nature of our mind.
And is it possible to experience that peace and joy when life is maybe going against us?
That's the effort.
Yeah.
Because usually we are so busy. Our mind especially is so busy because it's always either running after something or running away from something. And then very, very busy and not getting it, about to get it. Losing it, about to lose something. So it's always tension. Yeah. So in that way, then we can never get really peace. So if we learn how to not always in that kind of a state of tension, not always only running after something or running away from something, then naturally we feel more calm and more clear and more peaceful. And if we get very, very used to it, then they said that even the worst things happens, it can't disturb your mind. But that's not easy to get, I think. But that's the idea.
Would you have any advice, say, for somebody going through anxiety or depression, say, in their lives?
Yeah. I think we have to work step by step. It's not that as soon as you do something, everything. We have to, like if somebody is, I've seen lots of people with depression, and it's very difficult when you are depressed because when you are depressed, whatever you say, they take it in a wrong way, in a very personal way, and it doesn't, it's very difficult. Once I was saying something like, I told a story actually. I told a story about somebody, a lady, who had, who was a wheelchair lady, and some disabilities, and so therefore she was very, depressed. And then I read this somewhere. And then one day she travels. She travels some very far away place, and there she saw a person who had completely cut off both the legs at the really at the root, and just put a kind of leather on the the lower part of her body, and then he was just not even had a wheelchair. On the road was just there was some planks and then moving on the road, and then but he was joking and he was talking and he was very jolly and happy and talking with everybody and making jokes and things like that. And when she saw this person, she felt very inspired. She said that if this person can be so happy, why can't I be? Because I am in many ways much better than this person. Because so then she said that okay, now from now onwards, I will try to do something that's helping somebody every day. So she said that she took up some things like charity and things. So every day she was trying to do something good. So she was busy trying to think what to do and things. So she forgot about being depressed. She was not depressed anymore, but she became really very good and working for lots of things and lots of projects and things like that, and she became very successful and also very happy. So I told this story, and then when I told this story, I saw that somebody, a lady, was shedding tears, and I didn't understand why. And then later on, somebody told me, why this person is very hurt by what you said, because you said that she is not compassionate enough. I said, no, I never said she is not compassionate enough. And then I went to talk to her, and she said, well, I don't think you wanted to say this, but I felt that when you were telling this story, you were telling me that I am not compassionate enough because I am depressed. So, sometimes they can take it like that, so it's very difficult, to make them understand. But I think what they have to do is try to first, I think, a little bit less afraid of, sometimes you are too worried about the how sad you are or how depressed you are. I'm too much depression. It's very bad. And then if you are too much like that, that is making it more depressed. But if you say that okay, I'm sometimes sad, it's okay. I can be sad, I can be happy sometimes. It's okay. Then I'm much more better. So I think sometimes to accept the sadness or depression or loneliness or whatever is, I think, the first step. So if little bit like this, and then slowly, maybe not too much concentrating on your own, because this is, people who are more depressed, I think, tend to take things very personally. Everything, too personal. I feel that there are two ways. Sometimes we can be very, what can you say? We can be very sensitive in two ways. Sensitive about yourself, your feelings, and sensitive about others. If I become too sensitive about my feelings, this is for me, it's against me. Am I feeling good? Am I, hurt? Am I? Then I think you become too much, focused on yourself, and then anything happens is affecting you very strongly. But if you're not so much only about yourself, but a little bit sensitive to the other people's, how other people are, a little bit more empathy, a little bit more, what they are feeling, how they are doing. Then I think it's instead of too much focusing on myself, a little bit focusing on others, I think is a little bit better for, so it's not only how I am hurt or I am, but how people are, of course everybody is sometimes sad, sometimes unhappy, sometimes, lots of problems. There's nobody who doesn't have a problem.
Tell me quickly about your book called Riding Stormy Waves, Victory Over the Maras. What's the book about?
Well, people have been transcribing my talks and making into small books. There is a series called Lazy Lama series, and there is a series called Heart Wisdom. Now this one is from, I think, Heart Wisdom series. It's just the last one. It's a... there's this concept of called Mara in Buddhism, which is actually obstacles, obstacles in your practice, in your meditation and things like that. And there is a book, a small book written by one great master called Kagyu Rinpoche, I think 200 years ago. And I was just, going through this text, I think in Scotland, and somebody transcribed it and put into a book form. It's just that, because there, Mara can be sometimes translated as demon, but it's not demon outside, it's kind of demon inside. And then it can be, anything can be, the obstacle. Even something good can be an obstacle if you take it wrongly. And something bad can be also an obstacle. And but obstacle can also be a good thing, if you know how to take it. So that's how, actually, everything can become a practice, if you want to use the word practice.
Welcome back to the Health Zone. Check out and like our Facebook page on www.facebook.com/The Health Zone Show. Well, that was a part of the interview I did with Tibetan Buddhist Master Ringu Tulku Rinpoche. The rest of the interview, which is over an hour long, will be uploaded later on today on www.mixcloud.com/The Health Zone. Well, that's all for this week, folks. Tune in next week when we'll be talking all about autism. We'll be talking with autism consultant and author Donna Williams, Dr. Temple Grandin, who is best-selling author and activist, former MEP human rights campaigner Cathy Sinnott, and finally author and former CEO of the Autism Treatment Center of America, Ron Kaufman. It will be a very exciting and interesting show indeed.